Today it's going to be a very healing episode, and I'm really excited to bring on a special guest. We've got Christina Deering. She is a shaman healer and business intuitive who helps spiritual entrepreneurs scale to six figures and beyond. She's best known for clearing more limiting beliefs and trauma in one healing session than decades worth of therapy, opening her clients up to receive manifestations in the form of quantum leaps. Host of the top 10% podcast worldwide, You Unlimited, she's a trailblazer on all things wealth energetics, emotional mastery, and unlocking your spiritual gifts for financial success. She's been featured in Forbes and Goss Manifest magazine, and is an international speaker on creating impact and legacy in alignment with your soul. So honored to have you, Christina. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me. I just can't wait to see what the universe wants to move through us today. So I think it's going to be really fun to see how this
Yes,
conversation just unfolds. It's going to be, I feel like we're tapping into the energy of anyone who may be listening right now. So that's my hope, is that whoever is listening is getting exactly what they desire through us, allowing God to move through us in a really powerful way.
definitely. What I love too, when we hopped on our call, is you asked to do a grounding exercise, and literally just calms my whole nervous system down.
Yeah.
Is that something you do with many of your clients?
Yeah. So I do that before every single one of my sessions. It really grounds the energy. It allows them to really drop into the present moment. But you know, what's fun is I actually do it before the session even starts. So they feel that energy before they even start, the groundedness. So it doesn't even really take up any of the session time. I do it before it even starts and they can tune into that. So I do that. And then before every single one of my podcasts, I do that as well. It just allows us to get more in sync and to just ground into the present moment.
That's beautiful. I
Yeah.
Like I said, I really felt it. And we're both moms.
Mhm.
And it's so weird for me to call myself a mom now.
I know, it's so fun.
It's so
Yeah.
fun. But there's a lot of energy that kind of it goes sporadically everywhere. Like you've got mom guilt, you've got I'm not good enough guilt, like feeling all these things because you're trying to perfect momhood, if you will. And I've been noticing this a lot with my clients too. It's kind of that mirroring thing going on. I was wondering for you, doing what you do with your clients, what are some ways that you can ground their energy to let go of some of the guilt and shame that comes along with being a mom?
This is such a good question because I've absolutely experienced this. And there will be seasons where it feels like it's dialed up and seasons where it's dialed down. And one of the things that I know energetically I need to do as I'm shifting from work to motherhood, because I think those are two different energies we're playing in, is I really connect to who is someone that I deeply admire in business and who is someone that I deeply admire in motherhood. And then before I step into each one of those, I connect to the energy of that person, which really what I'm doing is I'm dialing up the energy that I already have within me based on something that I can look at as like well, this is how I feel like they do it. Let me actually dial it up within me. So before I actually step into, going from work to being a mom, I think about my grandmother. And I'm like, how can I just like, how would she show up for my son right now? She's
Mm.
playful, she's present, she's on her hands and knees, and it just like really allows me to play up that energy in different ways so that I'm not bringing my work as much into motherhood and I'm not bringing motherhood guilt into work. It allows me to just dial up the energy I need to in both spaces and be the most grounded version of me in each of these spaces, if that makes sense. So That's one of the things that I do that I feel really supports in not having or kind of releasing a need to do it perfect. No, like my grandmother wasn't perfect, but like the way that she showed up for us felt like magic because she was simply present and she wasn't focusing in on, oh, I should have done this. I wish I had done that. That takes us away from the moment. So if we can connect to someone that is so deeply present, or they just do motherhood in a way that we're like, oh, that's so nourishing, dial up those qualities within yourself and it almost starts to fade out the other things that we may have been focusing on.
Mm. Or for the opposite side with your business, like,
Mhm.
what do you need to do to let go of the energy around, I need to do everything for my kid right now, to I need to dial into what's important energetically to my business?
So I do this 5-minute energy reset, which I would love to gift to anyone who's listening in. That is a game changer for me. It's like, it's this beautiful energy that allows you to just release anything and everything that's out of alignment with the present moment. All these things that are pulling our energy, like thinking about, is the person who's watching my child right now doing a good enough job? I can't even focus on this job because I'm thinking about, are they okay? Do they need a bottle? Do they need, so this what this will do is it will clear your energy of all the stories we're telling ourselves. It'll allow us to drop into the present moment. It allows us to protect our energy. So anyone who may be projecting things at us, we're no longer available for. It's protecting our energy and it's grounding us down into Mother Earth. It happens in 5 minutes. It's made for high achievers that are like, I don't have time. I'm like, you've got 5 minutes
Yes.
to do this. It will set you up for success for the rest of your day. And so that is something that really helps me ground into the present moment of showing up for my job and trusting and releasing that the other person that's watching my child has got this too. So I think that's a part of it, is like it actually allows us to be more in tune with our intuition as well. So if there was a part of me that it helps me distinguish, is it the ego that may be telling me something, or is this my intuition that's telling me something? So what's coming through to just differentiate is, let's say you are handing your baby off to a nanny and there's all the stories that come through. Is she gonna do it like I did it? Is this gonna be messed up? And then when you calm your nervous system, you start to recognize, oh, that was just ego. I actually definitely trust her. Versus you calm your nervous system and you're like, my intuition's telling me she's not the right fit. That's a different story. And so this calms your
Yeah.
nervous system enough to know which one's telling me something.
Now, how did you get into energetics in the first place?
Yeah. So I was in marketing for a long time, and I was in marketing for 15 years. I kept
Oh,
climbing the corporate ladder and feeling like more and more empty and just recognizing there's got to be something more to life. And so through that, I started getting, it was like a mini spiritual awakening was happening where I was like, ooh, I'm interested in crystals now, like the properties behind a crystal. And I'm starting to see angel numbers, and it's about to be actually 1111 here. It just turned, it's 1111 here in Dallas. So it's just so interesting that these things started to show up, and I realized there's energy behind everything and within everything. And through that, I just started to follow what was lighting me up. I was like, I'm curious about Reiki. And I'm kind of curious about, how does energy play a factor in the way that I'm showing up for my day to day, and where am I giving my energy away in
mm,
places that don't feel good? So I just kind of started following things that lit me up, that I feel like I've done this in past lives. So of course I'm interested in this lifetime around like energy and healing and all of those things. And so for me, it was more about like just follow what's lighting you up as like a passion project. And then at some point it became my full-time job that I'm doing every single day, which I love.
I love that. And it's interesting because now you have been coined the shaman that wears Chanel by Forbes. So I love that playfulness. Like, you can be a fashionista, but you also can be into energetics. I think like people picture a shaman a certain way, like out in nature, but only there, has to have vegan food. So what kind of lifestyle have you created for yourself as you have developed all these energetic practices?
Yeah, so I think it's just honoring your truth above all else. Like if I was wearing certain things that people think a shaman, quote unquote, should wear, it wouldn't necessarily be authentic to me. Now, will my fashion change? Of course, it's shifted as I've shifted, but it's all about just following what lights you up and letting your authentic truth be exactly what it needs to be. It doesn't have to fit into a box of what someone else says spirituality should be, or someone who wears Chanel should be. It's like, let it be 110% you always. And so the whole idea behind that too is that we can be wealthy for our spiritual gifts as well. I think a lot of people think, "Oh, I've got this spiritual gift, so I just have to give it away. I can't charge for it." And it's like, no, you actually dropped into this body with a purpose for humanity. The things that come easily to you are your gifts, and you are meant to give it back to humanity, but you're meant to be paid abundantly for it
Mm.
so that you can pay other people abundantly for their gifts, so that you can tap into the mentors that you want to, travel the way you want to, wear the things that you want to, invest in your deeper spiritual connection through retreats or the coaches or the healers. Like we're meant to have the wealth so that we can say yes to our soul more and more. And however that looks like, it doesn't have to fit a certain mold. Let it be what lights you up the most. And so I think that's where that play on words really came through, was like, you can be spiritual and you can have the money to actually allow yourself to say yes more and more to the things that light you up.
So when you're talking about gifting or investing in yourself, what does that look like with energy? Because that I feel can be very confusing for people because they feel they need to separate wealth and money talk and spirituality.
So, money is energy. It is an energetic exchange between people. And so, for instance, if I were to sign up for a free masterclass, which I do often, I might or might not show up for that masterclass. It depends on the day, it depends on what else is pulling my energy. But if I paid $10,000 to show up for a VIP event, my butt is going to be there an hour early. I'm going to be networking. I will have already purchased my ticket to get there. I would have already had my hotel. I would have been in the front row taking notes because my energy is in that space in a very different way than it is for a free masterclass. So,
Mm.
money is energy, it's an energetic exchange between people. And so, it's actually incredible when someone comes to you and says, I want to pay to lean in because that's their energy. They're investing in the space and they will get more from that experience by investing their energy there. And you can bet that as the receiver of that money as well, you're going to show up differently with both feet in to that experience for them as well. So if you're a coach or a healer, if you're being paid in alignment with what lights you up, that allows you to fully show up for them versus I'm working in corporate 60 hours a week and I'm trying to do this as a passion project and I'm not even fully present for this and I'm doing the splits everywhere. And so there's a different energetic exchange when you're being paid for your gifts. You can give them back in the space with so much more potency than if you aren't being paid for your gifts in a way that feels like you can fully drop in. And then the other person is allowing themselves to fully drop in and immerse themselves in that experience because their energy is in the space. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I do have a lot of corporate clients that listen to this podcast, and something that they battle with
Mhm.
is creating the space, the energy for them to develop their passion projects because they're really worried of letting go of the 401k. They're letting go of their titles. There is something about it that's really hard to let go. So for those that are too afraid right now, what do you recommend for them to do if they want to become an entrepreneur?
Mhm. So the big question that I had for myself is if I didn't do this, how would I feel on my deathbed? Like if I just kept saying, no, no, I'm not going to follow the passion. I'm not going to follow the purpose. I'm just going to keep staying in what feels safe. How is that story going to be told on my last day on earth? Because we are literally writing our autobiography in real time. Do you want this chapter to read the exact same as the last 9 chapters? Or is there something you desire to shift so that you have some sort of plot twist that said, oh, I came here for a purpose and I activated that. And even though it was a little scary, I learned how to calm my nervous system through it. And oh my gosh, what it actually turned into was something so much more soul aligned than I ever could have imagined. And I'm so grateful that I took my chance on myself because I was given this ping to follow it. My intuition is asking me to follow the gifts that I've been given. They don't want to stay in a shoebox. The gifts that you've been given don't just want to be sung in the shower. They want you to get out there and actually sing your song. It makes the world, the collective energy, so much more radiant when you're really tapping into your deepest purpose for being here, and everything in your life will transform. So, of the person that's actually scared to go after it, calm your nervous system first and foremost. Allow yourself to calm your nervous system in different ways And through that, you begin to normalize creating something on the side. Maybe that's where you start is like, for me, it was like, I'm interested in Reiki. So then I got Reiki certified and I realized it was a really powerful tool for myself. And wow, I can actually really support someone with this. And so I started to actually expand on that. And then they're like little breadcrumbs. So we don't have to go to, oh my gosh, I have to quit. I have to do all this stuff right now. Follow the micro breadcrumbs and it will lead you to the next greatest adventure and calm your nervous system in that one. It'll lead you to the next greatest adventure, calm your nervous system in that one, and just allow yourself to have more fun with the process. It's calling you for a reason because it's your calling.
Yeah. You talk a lot about emotional mastery. What does that mean to you?
Yeah. So emotional mastery for me, when I was like, the way that I thought about it when I was younger was like, don't feel your emotions, don't cry. No. Emotional mastery means let yourself experience the full breadth of human emotion and find safe spaces to release those emotions. So, for instance, like whenever I'm going through something that may be like that was traumatic, like I've had multiple miscarriages, and I had to let myself go to the depths of that despair, the depths of that sadness in spaces like with a healer, or since I am a healer as well, and we all are our own best healers. What that meant for me was like punching a pillow, screaming, being
Mm,
angry, letting myself just process it out. Because when we suppress our emotions, we can start to feel depressed. It can start to manifest as disease in the body. And to me, what I've been shown through channeling and just through a sense of knowing is disease is simply a calcification of energy that hasn't been felt or expressed through the body. So it's just staying in that area of the body to tell you a story. So
mhm,
wherever it's manifested in your body, it's telling you a story and it wants to move because there's wisdom underneath it. So emotional mastery is about allowing yourself the safe space to actually feel the emotion to get to the wisdom underneath it so that you can release it and expand into this new version of reality, a more free version of reality, a release of that wall that was there before that through the emotion, through feeling it and releasing it, it allows you to expand into a freer version of yourself.
beautiful. Thank you for sharing about miscarriage because that is something a lot of people are too afraid because of the society right now with regards to IVF, with regards to miscarriage. It just is not talked about. If you don't mind sharing, I think it's amazing that you were able to punch a pillow. And how were you with your relationships able to communicate your needs and emotions? Because at times that can be very challenging.
Yeah. So I have a healer, which is really helpful for me to process. But what I found through the depths of this trauma that I experienced now 3 times over, what I experienced through the depths of this was actually being able to ask for the first time for what I really deeply needed. So my mother-in-law was staying with us and I was like, "Will you just rub my back while I cry?" Like I've never asked anyone to do that before. The independent version of me is like, "I can do this on my own." And it really brought me to my knees in a way where I was like, I don't know why, but I just feel like if someone just nourishes my body, if someone just gives me that loving touch right now, and my love language is not touch, but I needed it in that moment. So
Mhm.
clearly there's a part of me that it is. That was so nourishing, was just to ask people in my life for what I needed in the moment, whether it was like, I just need an ear. Can you just hear me as I just speak and cry and move through this? Or my healer, can you just hold space and help me move the depths of that pain? And even holding space for myself, that relationship with ourself, being able to not numb from the pain, because I will say the 3rd time that it happened, I was like, "Well, I already know how this turns out, everything's fine." And I did notice, like, myself almost spiritually bypassing that one
Mm.
and realizing and this is the first time I'm actually publicly talking about the 3rd one, this happened last week, but I realized through that experience that I was like, "You know what? I'm wanting to numb." I'm noticing that I'm doing things that, like, I don't normally do, and I've gotta meet myself in the depths of it again. I've just gotta go there, and it gets to be okay. So, in that, when I did somatic movement, when I punched the pillow, when I got sad, and the parts of me that wanted to numb. So you better
Mhm.
believe I turned on Sarah McLachlan and was like, let's go. Like I need something to help me process. And so through that, I immediately was like, man, it almost hurt more to not go into the pain than it did to actually experience the pain and to feel the lightness on the other side. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to talk about this so freely having,
Right.
knowing that it just happened had I not somatically let myself go there.
When working with the healer, what kind of things came up for you?
Mm. So, s fear, like, ugh, where is this fear living in my body? Why is this happening again? What did I do wrong? All these stories that I was telling myself. But what I love about my healer is she's also a psychic intuitive. And so she and myself, we can connect to the spiritual realm. So there's this whole idea of let me connect to the spirit of this baby. What does this baby desire for me to know? And there has been so much peace and healing through that of knowing like every time it's happened, it's been a deeper portal for healing. And I've also received so many messages from this baby on the other side that's like different body, different timeline. So I think just having that beautiful sounding board to say, what does this baby want me to know? Because right now my ego is really coming in hot and telling me that all these things are wrong. And that's not even the truth. Like we love to blame ourselves, love hate to blame ourselves. And there's something so much bigger at play that everything happens in the divine time. If you get that intuitive hit that there's a baby there for you, then there is a baby there for you. It's time to move the trauma that may be blocking you from allowing this to happen in the divine time that it's meant to.
Once again, thank you so much for sharing.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry that you went through that, but I think it's unbelievable that you can reflect so quickly. I know it's very hard for a lot of people. So thanks again for sharing.
Of course. I think it's part of my mission. That's what came through
Yeah,
too. I let myself channel. It was like, be a conduit for what you just allowed yourself to move through and heal through because there's so many women that don't
so
talk about
many.
it.
Mm,
Every single time I've ever shared it, I can't tell almost every time so many women have leaned in and been like, "Me too," like whispering,
yeah,
like, "Me too." And I'm like and some of them are like, "I've never told anyone." And I'm like, "You are just holding that in the cells of your body, like, let yourself move it." Thank God I shared because that allowed them the safety to be like, "Me too." Like, I also experienced that. And so I think this part of my mission for being here is to share my journey with this. And there's been so many parts and pieces, whether it be spiritual, somatic healing, tapping into acupuncture, tapping into an OB specialist that like actually is giving me the time of day. Cause I think that was energetically part of it too. My
hmm
OB, I felt like I was more of a number than I really was like a human being with human experience and human emotions. And so that was a part of my journey too, was finding a safe space to land in all sides of the equation.
totally. So interesting, like that you say that, because when I first went to my OB/GYN in Chicago, that's how I felt. And she sped through everything. And I felt, oh, I was scared. I was fearful because I didn't know all these
Yep.
tests that were going on, like, was not explained to me. And then when we came to Florida, I made sure to get someone that same speed, still very scientific approach, but she knew how to talk to me like a human being. And
Yes.
that changed everything. And then all of a sudden, my body relaxed. And
Yes.
it's interesting how that happens. Like when you don't feel safe, your body, your cells just clamp up and you
Absolutely.
can't move.
Oh, 100%. Even just the when I started to actually connect to I because even this last time when I got pregnant, one of the almost like flickering thoughts that happened almost subconsciously was like, "Oh no, you don't have a new OBGYN yet." And it was like, "Oh, that's interesting." Like, and
Mhm.
so through this last time that it happened, it was like, "Oh, like I get to really surround myself with a support team that feels good." And the second I started looking, I actually felt my body physically relax. And I
Wow.
know like and now as I'm creating these appointments with these different, doctors and getting a feel for which one feels most soul aligned, through that, I'm feeling my body and soul relax even more into the experience. And so I know that can be an energetic block. And so when we release those and we tune into where am I feeling this tightness and where is this really coming from, that really allows us to create more spaciousness for what it is that we desire.
Isn't it crazy that our soul alignment, Like, even though soul could be is a very spiritual thing, there's so much more. There's that mind component, there's that body. I talk with my clients all the time about it's all intertwined. And one area being out of whack, it can affect body. It can also affect your spirit and how you present yourself in your business or in just in your own life with your relationships. Just
Mhm.
find it fascinating.
It's so fascinating. Yeah, I taught a class on body wisdom, and it's like there's so many different bodies that we have, the energy body, the physical body, the mental body, the emotional body, but they're all working together in different ways. And so it's in every single one of them has wisdom for us.
Mhm. What has been for some of your clients, what has been wisdom that they have found from doing the work with their body?
Mm. So much is unlocked. I think there's a reason we want certain things in our experience, and there's a reason why we might not have it yet. So, a big part of that is releasing the thing that's blocking them from what it is that they desire to receive. And so that can manifest as money starting to come through. Like, I've had clients be like, oh my gosh, I had $40,000 just came through. Like, what just happened? And it was like, they had energetic blocks across all time space realities that we just had to move. And that can happen very quickly when you have someone who's tuned into the Akashic records, for instance. Where is the energy living? And so I think really allowing ourselves to move the blocks, move the energy that's blocking us from what we want, it's so unique to what that person wants. And so that's what I think is so fun. Like, I've had clients come to me that are like, one of my clients came to me and she was in a wheelchair, actually. Her knee was hurting so badly. And so part of that, when we ended up going into her Akashic records, we realized it was from a past life where she was experiencing this pain because she's like, I've been to the doctors. It's not moving. I don't understand it. It's so frustrating. Like, I just want to be able to walk again. And so sometimes we'll lean into the different spaces and we're like, that didn't work, this didn't work, this didn't work. But in this instance, when we could really pinpoint where it was coming from and move that energy, she sent me a video of her dancing the next day. Like, I feel totally different. And I just remember
Wow.
getting full body chills. Like, is this real life? Like, this is incredible. Cause even to me, it felt like a miracle. Like, it was like I was just being guided and moving energy the way that I was being almost told to in a beautiful way. And then to see that validation that this actually absolutely works is just so beautiful. Like, just the miracle of like when someone comes into a session and they're like, I know what I want and I know that it's possible. And when a healer is like, anything is possible, let's go. That's where the miracle unfolds. The person has to believe it's possible, and so does the healer, and therefore it is.
What are the main blockers that happen when people first come to you?
Mhm. So I think it's so unique to each person, but I will say a big one that I see is a block around money, a block around being seen, especially for the people that I work with. A lot of them are healers, a lot of them are coaches. And so there's so much energy around like, well, did I die in a past life because I was using my gifts, things like that? Or is there energy there that maybe blocking me from being seen on social media? Am I allowed to be
Interesting.
seen? I'm being judged by other people. The people that are close to me don't get it because I just had a huge spiritual awakening and they're not happy about it. So I think that's a big part too, is like when people do start to wake up to their gifts or their passion or their purpose, then through that, they begin to notice that some people around them, especially those that are really close to them, are like, no, no, that's not safe. Don't go there. Who is this person? I don't even know who this person is anymore. And so that's a big part is like the people pleasing part of us wants to like be like, well, wait, maybe I'll play small. Maybe I'll stay where I was before instead of expanding into this calling that I'm being guided into. And so that's a really big thing that we heal as well is like sending those people love and light and also still expanding into your truth and inviting them to rise with you, but not expecting them to do it on your timeline.
For
So I think that's a big one.
for these people, is it really hard for them to sell?
It can be, yeah, like an energetic block around that. Like
Yeah.
one of the things that I absolutely love talking to people about is soul aligned sales. It should feel so good in your body when you're selling because it's actually a massive disservice when you're not sharing your gifts. When you're like, oh, I don't want to inconvenience. It's like, what breakthrough could they have gotten in their own life had you actually said, here, lean in. This could massively impact your life. Right. And so it's a huge disservice when we hold back or when we have the fear of how will this look? What will they think? And so when we can clear those blocks and get our body in alignment with our pricing too, that's a big one. Let's normalize the new price point. Let's normalize the value that you're bringing into this space such that it's such a service to be able to say, lean in. This will massively impact your life. I'm so grateful to be able to bring this to you. And then those that are meant to be there will lean in. And so I think it's a big energetic shift around soul aligned selling versus just selling. Like the people that I work with are this is like their deepest passion. This is their soul on fire and wanting to just give this into the world and impact humanity. And when they can get into alignment with it being a soul led process and the fact that God controls our income, not one person, that changes
Mm.
the entire experience.
For you, how or for you, what would you say was your mission when you first started helping people with selling with a soul aligned purpose?
Yeah, it's about we all came here with gifts and we're meant to impact humanity with it. So, my purpose is for people to ignite that within themselves. Let the most authentic version of you be seen. Allow yourself to be paid abundantly for that so that you can pay other people abundantly for their gifts. It's this such a powerful energetic exchange of the more that I allow to move through me, the more that I can give back into the world. And so I think when we can shift the energy around that, that is such a huge part of my mission. Is just making this more of a soul led discussion, a soul led experience, and for people to just live their purpose and what they came here to do by releasing the blocks and the fear that tell us, no, I have to fall within this box because society told me to, because my education told me to, because my parents told me to. Let's just start to release that and connect to why did your soul drop into this body? And let's amplify that. Let's give back into the world in the way that your soul desires to and is meant to.
I always believe that there's like a solution that we all have inside of us too. And it comes from our soul. It doesn't come from
Mhm.
someone else. It doesn't come from our parents or our coworkers or whatever. But one thing I've found to be challenging about that is we fight and flight all the time because of stress. So I love to ask this question. How has stress saved your life?
Mm. So, stress is an invitation for me to get into further alignment, is what I've known to be true. Because when I'm stressed, when I'm overwhelmed, I find I'm just running and I'm not taking inspired action. I'm just taking action. And so it's an invitation for me to drop into deeper alignment with my soul. And so when I find myself being stressed, when I find myself being overwhelmed, I take a minute to actually pause through whether it's meditation or channeling, like, what do my guides want me to know? And when I can calm my body and my nervous system, that's a big one too. When I calm my body and my nervous system, I start to release some of that stress. It allows me to recognize where will my energy be best spent right now? What is my soul actually trying to tell me? Because I will say my biggest miracle moments in my business have been when I've stopped to pause and reflect and say, instead of doing what my business coach is telling me to copy and paste and do, my soul is telling me I need to go to this event. And I don't know why, but for some reason, because paused, it feels so expansive. I feel like I need to be in that room. And so
Mm,
instead of doing the 9 things I had on my to-do list, I then paused to say, apparently I really need to get to this event. I go to the event and then all of a sudden I meet someone that changes my entire life. We partner together. They become a client. It become or whatever it is, something happens where because I paused due to the stress, due to the overwhelm, it allowed me to come even further deeply into myself, my intuition, to say, where can I best focus my energy and then it gets me into alignment with a miracle moment that changes everything.
mhm. Love that. When I met you, I think it was this past December, 2023, I
Mhm.
just felt I felt like this healing energy like swooping your way and I had to like talk to you for the first time. And I just think what you do is beautiful and I really want people to get to know you even more and connect with you. So how can people find you and also work with you?
Mm. Well, first, I felt that same energy about you. So anyone who's tuning into your podcast also feels that energy about you. So you're so magnetic. And so it's like attracts like it's just that magnetism. So thank you so much for having me in this space and for just co-creating in the space. It feels so good. So thank you. And then for anyone who's tuning in, that's like, yeah, I want to lean in even more. You can find me in many different places. I have my own podcast, which you're going to be on too, which I'm so excited about. It's called You Unlimited. It's this beautiful space. It's that we lean in, we talk to 6, 7, 8-figure entrepreneurs about how they built what they built and how they stumbled along the way. And I think it's so much fun to just learn from success and failure and all the spiritual stuff in between, like the spiritual awakenings, the miracle moments, the when we experience something physical happening and how we shifted it. So, of course, being a shaman, there's a woo woo element to it, but it's also how do we ground what we really desire into our reality and make abundance in so many areas of our life through our passion and purpose. So definitely join me on the UN Limited podcast. That's one of my favorite spaces to play. I absolutely love it. And then I'm on Instagram at I am Christina Deering. You can find me there. I go live on Wednesdays wearing a wig and we talk about woo woo things, which is so much fun. I do Oracle card
That's
pulls while I'm wearing a wig. So I just like to bring more light into what can feel really heavy. So I would say both of those spaces are really fun to play in. And then you can find me on YouTube too. If you like watching podcasts on YouTube, I am Christina Deering. And I think I'm going to start doing card pulls over there too. That just feels really exciting and expansive. So those are
yeah.
some of the big places that I play. Yeah.
I love it. It's so exciting. Thank you so much again for coming on and sharing your knowledge with our audience. It really means a lot to me. And yeah, I just love this conversation. So thank you. And thank you for the grounding exercise
Oh
before
my
I
gosh.
needed it.
Anytime. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
telling you, that's the 5-minute energy
Reset.
reset. We'll
Yes.
drop it into the notes. So anyone who's like, what are they talking about? Just download it. I'm telling you, I use it every day. And if there's ever a day I accidentally skip, which I don't anymore, but in the past, if I ever accidentally skipped it, I could feel overwhelm and stress happening. It will immediately ground you in 5 minutes. It's one of my favorite tools to use.
But
Yeah.
everyone, please, please connect with Christina, listen to her podcast, and remember, share your takeaways. And lastly, be kind to yourself on the self love journey. There's only one you, and you're brilliant.
I love it. Thank you.
Welcome.